As the colonists came to America, they were able to bring only sparse furnishings for their homes. They remembered the colorful surroundings of their homes in Europe, and they longed to reproduce that feeling of home here in America. Tinware was one of the household furnishings that the colonists remembered, and they yearned to reestablish this link with their past.
About 1700, they started importing tin or sheet tin from England. It came into Boston Harbor. You have a lot of tinsmiths that sprang up with a trade in that area into the Connecticut area, and these people would make the coffee pots, the document boxes, the trays, cooking utensils of all types. They would get a large quantity of them, and they would send what they would call a tin peddler. He would maybe have like a horse or a mule or what have you with things strapped to this. That evolved into maybe a wagon, a large box-style wagon, and it was like a big treat for when the tin peddler would come to town, maybe twice a year, spring and fall. He would maybe barter for a night's sleep, lodging, or meals or whatever, and the ladies would, the lady of the house, so to speak, would purchase the items that she wanted or trade for a night's lodging or a good meal or whatever. And it was more or less the ladies then that started decorating. The popularity of it kind of died off about the turn of the century into the 1900s, when you had more factories. The factories came into being where things could be mass produced. At that particular point, when things were mass produced, they took kind of a back seat, so to speak, to the earlier pieces, and we had like a period from maybe 1900 to the 1940s when we really didn't have a lot of handcrafted or hand-painted designs, but more or less mass-produced pieces. It was maybe in the early 1940s, Esther Stevens Brazier had a keen interest in these old designs, and she started researching them and tried by trial and error how to reproduce the designs. She started and she learned how to do these, sparked the interest of many other people, so she started teaching it. And that was the beginning of the Historical Society of Early American Decoration, which now has just celebrated its 50th anniversary. As I say, we like the older things. We have, collect a lot of the antiques that were typical to this area, what we call the country antiques and so forth, the country style furnitures, the tinware, the clocks and so forth. We enjoy that versus the modern day things. We find out, oh, well, these modern things they don't last. They take their cycle and so forth and go on. But you find that the tradition of the older styles, the older things, never go out of style. People always have a want to find out how to do them or preserve them or enjoy those things.
I do work on tin. I work on wood as well. I do a lot of furniture painting, chairs and so forth, stenciling as well as hand painting them. I try to look for antique pieces of tin when I can. When I do craft shows, I like to have a variety of things to show people. I have some modern, I shouldn't say modern, newer items that some tinsmiths make that I buy and paint. I like to have old pieces like apple dishes, like the colonial apple dishes, document boxes, coffee pots, trays. I do a lot of trays. I would say when I first started, I guess I needed some education. Like I see people at craft shows ask me questions, and I know that they don't understand all the different stages and steps that there are to painting the early American decoration. And I would think, gosh, how much is there that you could learn about this? You have your paint, you have your brushes, you have your article you're going to paint. But as I went along, I found out there was a lot I didn't know. I know my mother had said to me one time, you're still going for lessons. How much could you learn about this? I said, I have many different things to learn. I mean, there's just so much and so many little tips that you learn along the way of of how to heat your varnish so that you'll get a nice flow, you won't get the brush strokes. There's just so many things, you know, to learn, and fortunately I had the opportunity of learning from a lot of master crafts people. I did have the chance to go to Vermont and study there under some master crafts people who, you know, they just kind of live and breathe this type of thing. They do it every day, and they just want to tell you more and more about it and show you some of the old pieces and how you reproduce them exactly. They're sticklers on color. Every color must be the same as it was in the 17th century. You reproduce that the very best that you can. So it was kind of a challenge, you know, to do all this. I don't think it's a passing fad. I think it's something that's here to stay. I think some people will always be interested in this type of work.